I'm sure that you've heard the concept of becoming a spiritual warrior, where you're going to dig deep and find your resolve and your inner strength and power, and maybe even use that in the fight of good versus evil. The ideas behind this are mostly positive, but you can go a little astray. And so I want to make sure that you're using this concept in the best possible way, in the way that will get you to exactly what you want. So let's talk about becoming a spiritual warrior in this video. So I first really want to start off talking about that whole concept of good versus evil. I think it's a great one because many people like the idea of dedicating themselves to this noble cause, of rooting out all the evil and being the light in doing so. The problem with this is that it is fighting against something, and that means that you're in a state of resistance. And any time that you're in a state of resistance, we know the phrase, what you resist persists. So in doing the thing where you're trying to remove the evil from the world, you are actually perpetuating it because you're giving it your energy, and you're saying that it needs to be struck down, it needs to be removed. The more that we fight against something, the more we create what we don't want. The more that we focus on what we don't want, the more we are inundated with that. So let's instead talk about what being a spiritual warrior really means. It's not about being in resistance, and it's not about fighting. It's actually, the first one is noticing negative thinking, noticing negative emotions, and noticing getting wrapped up in both of those things. There's a vigilance there, and there is a power or an energy that you have to use to notice that you're doing it. We're still not fighting yet. All we're doing is being watchful and noticing, oh, here we go. I have said this thing to myself. I am very negative thinking on this topic. Okay, I've got to realize that this is happening. The true being of light that I am doesn't have anything negative to say ever. Only the 3D, the survival mind, that's the one that has negative things to say. Another one is the shadow work. Being a warrior when it comes to shadow work is simply saying, hey, I've got traumas, and I've got negative thinking, and I've got limited thinking. These are things that I shouldn't just run from. I shouldn't avoid. I really need to face them and deal with them. Notice that I have them. And take action to begin to release those things. Because many cases we have so much fear related to our traumas that we don't want to have anything to do with them. Because, of course, it doesn't feel good. Whenever we remember those things, we might go through the emotional experience all over again. That's the last thing that we want. But the spiritual warrior says, no, you know what? I am going to go toward those things. I'm going to welcome those things because I know that if I focus on them, if I work on them, then I'm going to be able to get through them. I'm going to be able to release them. That's the warrior's mindset. There's also becoming aware of the illusion of separation. Instead of saying, hey, there's me and there's somebody else and that other person, and I can't believe that person cut me off in traffic, and my boss is a terrible person, or my family members treat me terribly, or whatever, to realize that we are all one. And that illusion of separation is actually what keeps us from getting closer and finding peace. So being a spiritual warrior is recognizing as often as possible that there is no separation, that we are all in this together. We talk about spreading the light. And as a spiritual warrior, if you really want to spread the light, there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And the way to do it is to give love to all, and with no expectations. You don't have to receive reciprocation. You don't have to receive them treating you in any particular way. And you also don't have to go declare it to everybody. You don't have to walk up to every single person that you meet and say, I love you. I love you unconditionally. They wouldn't understand. So it is actually loving them authentically because they are you and we are all one. That's really a big part of being a spiritual warrior. And it's not about getting wrapped up in what's wrong with the world. There's plenty wrong with the world. You could focus on that if you want to. But what does that do? We go back to the beginning. You're focusing and giving your energy to what's wrong. Well, another way to look at it is everything just is. There is nothing that's wrong. So why don't you just love everything and everyone because they're you? At that point, now you are truly being a spiritual warrior. And more than all of this, it's about surrendering. You don't think of being a spiritual warrior as surrendering, getting the white flag out and saying, I give up. That's not also what I'm saying, but the word surrender works really well because we are constantly in this need to control our world, to control our experience, to make sure that things go in a specific way. And if they don't, well, then we've got some sort of problem with it. Well, that is just a manifestation of fear. Would you think that the spiritual warrior would have fear? No, of course not. So the opposite of fear is to actually surrender to your experience, to surrender to the world. If you'd like some more assistance with getting to the root of that surrendering experience, I've made another healing session, which you can watch right here. I'll leave a link. And it will take you through the process of truly releasing. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. And I would love it if you would go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. And also let other people know about this video because there are many who truly believe that being a spiritual warrior is actually all about fighting and resisting. And we don't want that. We want them to be able to go into a peaceful place and surrender to their incredible experience. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love you unconditionally, and I'll see you on the next one.